since Microsoft is the best and anything they make is the best. Boom, runs like butter. Next, let's write merge sort, shall we? And then customize it to our needs. Save the file and run the command. Boom. If you don't understand merge sort, there's a merge sort video on jomaclass.com in the data structures and algorithms course. We make it really easy to understand with the intuitive animations to visualize the algorithm. Okay, plugging that just made me 150 bucks.
Awesome. So maybe I'm also going to switch to MS Word. Anyways.
Thanks for it.
Anyways.
Thanks for the dedication, but I'm not switching, please.
All right. So let's start this off. Thank you, Enoch, for thank you, Noah, for that. Let's start this. We have 3 items on our agenda. We have actually 4 items on our agenda. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to share one, but we are going to start with a prayer. And all this time long, I've been the one praying. Maybe we should get a volunteer. Someone should raise up the hand and give us a prayer. Yeah, and take developers' blessings, you know. So going once, going twice. All right, let me give you a prayer. Oh Lord, our Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift of life. As we are going to study, let us understand each and everything we are going to talk about. Through Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, from there, let's have our first speaker, who is Mr. Mugerwa, and is going to use 20 minutes max. Thank you so much.
All right. So thank you, Josh, for the opportunity you've given me. Let me take this opportunity to welcome all of you that have made it in time. It's exactly 9 minutes past the hour of 5. I'm pretty sure that this was slated to start at 5, but because of unavoidable circumstances, we've started at 10 minutes now past the hour of 5. So I hope all of you guys are doing well from wherever you are. And I can't fail to appreciate those that have made it a point to spare some time of their Sunday in such a meeting. In an environment where you're not given a free Wi-Fi, you're not given any allowance for this, I can't take it for granted that you people are here. And I highly treasure each minute that I spend with a person. So I hope the few minutes that we shall spend together will be of great importance to both you and me. Okay. So we've been making a campaign all along the weekend. I received an invitation from Richard to briefly talk about getting into open source in today's meeting. Okay, and I couldn't turn down the opportunity. And since I have 20 minutes, I'll try to be as brief as possible. Please reserve questions. Don't forget to ask questions at the end of the presentation. And well, I hope each of us tries to get the best that he can. Now, I'm going to approach this presentation with a mindset that 80% of us probably haven't gone into this. So I'll try to approach it from a fresher's mindset. So to those who are seniors and you're in this meeting, feel free to learn alongside with us. So without further ado, let's go in. So I'll begin with the key text. And those of you with your Bibles next to you, you could open up You could open up your Bibles and read with me in Genesis chapter 3, verses 19. Yeah, I want to begin with the key text. So in case you don't have a Bible, don't worry. I wrote the verse here for you. And the verse goes, you know, I'm going to talk about open source, but I've chosen to begin this way. You know? And so the verse goes, by the sweat of your brow will you, you will eat your food until you return to the ground. Since from it you were taken, and for dust you are, and to dust you will return. I'm not here to preach, but that was our key text. So God, from the time we sinned, it was written that from sweat, I love this guy over here trying to tilt the land, get out something to eat, you know, get out something to eat. So now, why have I brought this way? Sometimes people think that when you sit in the office or when you are a software engineer, you're not supposed to sweat, you know. Or when you're an IT guy, you know, you're not supposed to sweat. And I want to give you the bitter truth that ever since man sinned, nothing comes easy. So let's go on. So I want to briefly play this video. It's a brief one. You know, how food comes to your plate. How does food come to your plate? I'm not going to play the whole of it. To be very, very brief, then I will continue with my presentation. So, oops, sorry. Okay, so it's just a brief video. It won't take so long, so don't need to memorize this.
I think we don't hear the sound if there is, but if there isn't.
Oh, you guys can't hear the sound? Okay.
Yeah.
What fuel
Now
does
it's
our
okay.
body
It's okay.
require to carry out its day-to-day functions? Food? That's right. Where do we get the food from? The cereals, pulses, and vegetables on our plate come from somewhere, don't they? Where do you think they come from? Did you just say the earth? Yes, they do grow on earth, but who grows them for us? The farmers. That's right. We also get our food from animals. These animals are reared and taken care of by humans. This food then fuels our body to carry out all its processes. Can you name a few processes of the body that need energy? Digestion, excretion, respiration are a few common processes. Without food, our body wouldn't be able to function at all. But can't every human produce his or her own food? Do you think this is a feasible option? Imagine growing your food every day. I assure you this wouldn't be an easy job to do, and that is why we need our farmer friends. They produce food for the entire country. And with the growing population, food...
Because of the limited time I have, out of the 20 minutes given to me so far, I have used already the 4 are gone. Now, I'll not play the whole of it, but I've picked the concept I wanted. Now, just like a farmer grows food, a software engineer develops software for the community. And as well as the community needs food, in this generation, it's next to unavoidable for software to play part in the community, you know. Now, let's go back to open source. Okay, back to open source. I'm not here to preach the Bible, neither am I here to teach you how to grow food. But the point I want to take from the story of growing food, before the food comes to your plate, somebody somewhere has got to sweat, and somebody somewhere has got to tilt the land. Back to open source. Now, for those of you briefly who probably knew this word, maybe is new to you, and you are in this community, every time you hear the word open source, what exactly comes into your mind? Okay. Now, open source generally as a word refers to something that can, something people can modify and share. You know, something people can modify. Okay, the key word here, people can modify and they can share, you know, because its design is publicly accessible. Okay, the keyword here, open source. Now, I've not said open source software, but I've said open source. Open source refers to something people can modify and share because its design is publicly accessible. Even in our day-to-day lives, there are very many open source products, not only software. You know, take an example of a road. A road is an open source product because it's publicly accessible to all of us. And that road is being modified, or it's being tilted, it's being worked on by people, probably who are tendered by the government or even the community. You know, back then we used to have community work. So we can say that the road as well is open source. But specifically, what do we mean by open source software? You know, open source software basically is software, okay, with the source code that anyone can, three things: inspect, modify, and enhance. Okay, I'm using the fewest words possible. And kindly reserve all the questions. We shall address them before we close off this meeting. One of the unique things that a final user rarely sees is what we call the source code. Okay, source code. And source code is part of that it's part of software that most computer users do not have access to or don't ever see. You know, you guys are lucky that have been into the IT department, and probably you've written your first JavaScript, script, and then maybe you've written your Python script, so it runs and you expect it to give you what you've told it to give you. But a person who has never written any script, whichever language you've chose, all he knows is to get the product and use the product, but he doesn't see where the magic happens. So source code, it's the code the computer programmers, or it's the code computer programmers can manipulate to change how a piece of software or a program or an application works, So programmers who have access to the computer program source code can improve that program by adding features to that program and fixing parts of that program that don't always work correctly. Now, that process takes in a lot of energy. By speech, it sounds very simple, but actually it takes in a lot of energy. Now, let's go back to and briefly check out the open source business model. Okay. Now, we've said that open source, every time we talk about open source, we are talking about a product which has accessibility or which is publicly accessible. And that product can be modified or enhanced by people. Okay, that product can be enhanced or modified by people. Now, the smallest, in the fewest words possible, okay? When we talk about open source software, we expect a community, okay? We have a community of people or a community. But in that community, we expect a number of different users. I think, Arthur, I need to mute yourself, okay? We have different categories of people in that community. Say, for example, we have users, and these users use the software product, use the software product. In the same community, for example, we have the support vendors, people who are committed at supporting the product of the community. Let's draw this analogy back to the road that we began with. In the community where the road is made, there's some of us who just use the road. We are users of the road. And we even have the rights to complain to the government in case a ditch is developed in the road. We take it as a right to even complain in case our road becomes next to impassable. Now the government procures the vendors or the support vendors, say the contractors, and these contractors are committed to seeing that this road is in the best usable mode or shape possible. You know. Now, let's summarize this model. In an open source community, for example, software this time around, okay, we have a number of different players in there. You know, we have users, like we've said. Usually these are passive, you know, readers. We have contributors, we have active developers, could be having bug fixers, could be having bug reporters, you know, peripheral developers. Then I have committers, you know, for example, the project leaders or the core team that probably maintains the central repository. Sorry, I don't want to use words that I haven't spoken about, but you'll excuse me. Probably you'll pick them as you go on. Okay. So where we have our central source code being hosted, we have people, okay, we have people that are committed to seeing that that source code is kept as up to date and as useful as much as possible. Now, definitely, I will share this for those that would need this presentation. I have 20 minutes, and out of the 20 minutes, I've already used 13 minutes. Wow, so 7 minutes. So now, I want to clear your minds when it comes to open source. You know, there is a myth that some of you get with open source. You know, it's a myth that some people think that open source is cheap and free. That's a myth. Eh? You know, that's a myth. No, I don't know. I have only 20 minutes, but we can spend an entire semester just debating on this, because why do we say it's not cheap and free? You people are going to realize that at the end of the day, there are actually a lot of resources put in to make sure that we have an open source product. Okay? For example, you people know, if it's an open source software product, that there is actually a very big team of people who are putting in a lot of time, a lot of research, you know, a lot of efforts to see that the product stands. Mind you, even if a road is open source, you people know that we have to pay the taxes to maintain that road, for the government to maintain that road. So that therefore doesn't mean that the road, because the road is publicly accessible and open source, the road therefore is free. You know. Now, I don't want to spend my entire time just discussing that, but that's a myth. You know, open source isn't cheap and it isn't free. Let me leave that in your minds as you think about it. You can stage a debate in your own group and discuss about that. So one of the greatest physicians, Albert Einstein, not Einstein, brought up this principle that works to life, that, you know, for us to be in an equilibrium position, you know, action and reaction must always be equal but opposite. Those of you who did simple physics back then, you should remember that. So for every action, there should be an equal but opposite reaction for the community or for life to go on. And this is exactly the same principle that I've with the time found applicable in open source, you know, in open source. So as you use the product, there should be people who are equivalently working on the product to see that the product meets exactly what you desire for the product, you know. Otherwise, if people abandon that product, then definitely the usage of the product won't be relevant. One of the common products I always reference to is the Adobe Flash Player. Some of you maybe have heard about the Adobe Flash Player. And Adobe was giving out Flash Player for quite a long period of time, you know, a long period of time. And developers could channel out products that could utilize the functionalities of the Adobe Flash Player. But once Adobe stopped supporting the Flash Player, its lifetime phased out. Now, if you land on a site that would require the Adobe Flash Player to open, they will respond to that Adobe Flash Player is no longer supported, and they won't display the content. So now you have to pay your dues to be there. You have to pay your dues to be there. My colleague Kakumirizi, I think, will point or will shed more light into the benefits that you get when you join an open source community. And the truth be told is, for you to make it in everything in life, be it open source, be it in a day-to-day life, you have got to pay your dues. There is nothing like easy in life. I've come to realize that. So even if you're to get engaged in an open source community, let me tell you, I'm not scaring you, but truth be told, you have to pay your dues to be there. Some of you realize that sometimes even just joining the community will take you enough efforts if you can't put in the effort just to join the community. Doing your research, what does the community work, and what products do they deliver, how can I join in, how do I contribute, just going through that process. If you're not patient enough, if you aren't patient enough, and the same applies in our day-to-day life, in all aspects. Those of you who have been in Uganda, you've seen a lot of scams coming. They tell you, try this, you try that, they steal your money, it doesn't, try this, try that. And so those who bring on scams made it a business. I mean, even if you're not from Uganda, different countries have had different scams. But for whichever course you take, you always have to pay your dues to be there, So now almost my 20 minutes are getting down. Wow, I'm looking at the time, running so fast. But before time runs out, as you plan to join any community, any open source community, the following are very important for you. I want to briefly go and do a demo briefly, but you have to be willing to learn. Some of us sometimes think we know it all. And I've always told people that the moment you realize that you know it all is the moment you are you are dead. For as long as you are living, you can never know it all. Let me tell you, even if you're a professor, you can never know it all. That's why I always strive as much as possible to learn something new from my students in the classes I teach. I make it a point, me being your lecturer doesn't mean I can't learn anything from you. No, that's a myth. There's a lot I can learn from you. Like I've already learned a lot from a number of my students. Now, even if you think you know all the Python in the world, let me tell you, you can never know it all. You must always be willing to learn. That's why I want to take a minute to thank all of you that have really made it a point to show up every Sunday on times like this, because I can't tell you everything in 20 minutes. But as we go on sharing our journey and different discussions, I guarantee you will learn. One of the greatest ingredients you can give to yourself in this life is the willingness to learn. Be ready and willing to learn new concepts when you join open source communities. I've had stories from people, even if it's me, I've seen it myself, people join communities when they're completely blank about what is going on. But because of their strong zeal and willingness to learn, they are coachable people, coaching, problems, get insights, get support, success is yours, and then the results are yours. That's one of the, even if time cuts me out, you always have to be willing and positive to learning. So keep it active always. Keep an active profile in the community and project. So be active. Time investment. Spare time. Spare time to work on other projects as well, on others' projects as well. Some of us, when you join our open source communities, we go there because probably we want to get employment, and then after getting employment, then we are good to go. Some of us go there thinking because people are getting employed from there. You've had a few stories from here and there. People tell you because I was in open MRS. Therefore, I got a job and now I'm working. So some of us run to open source communities because somebody told you got a job from there. So you also run there, and you run in 2 months, you want to get a job, you want to get your next paycheck on the 3rd month. Now, when you be there for about 2 months and you're not seeing any opportunity coming in, you run out of the community. My friends, you need to spare time to work on others' projects such that they'll also get time to work on yours. Get time to solve people's problems such that they also get interested in solving yours. Take time to understand the community norms, and also the objectives of that community. What do they stand out for? Who are the people that might be interested in their services? Whom exactly are we serving? What is their code of conduct? Now take time to learn those things. Spare time, okay? Spare time. Finally, before I go into that, regardless of the size of the solution, always give it your best, okay? And truth be told, the world only rewards those who give it what it desires. Don't expect the world what you desire without you giving it what it desires. Okay, so success. Now, briefly, for example, let me share my screen. I think Mr. Kakumirizi will also talk about some of these. I've learned that one of the greatest assets you can ever have is time. So I want to use the time as effective as possible. I will cut the story short. Okay, I've cut the story short, and I've chose to use this open source community, one of the most common open source communities we have around, and it's called WordPress. WordPress. So let me go to wordpress.org. To those of you, for example, who are interested in website design or in web design, I remember in my first year when I had just learned HTML and then CSS, a little bit of JavaScript, I used to wonder how people come up with the beautiful websites with all the sliders, with all the good pictures and all the good things. That was my first year. I used to wonder. It got me puzzling because to write my first, complete web page, it took me a lot of effort. A lot of CSS, a lot of it was really a tooth in the nail. It was a nail. It was nail in the tooth. Until I went for my internship, and my supervisor introduced me to one of the most common content management, software we have around. Content management systems we have around. And back then, he introduced me to a content management system called WordPress. The moment I used WordPress to set up my first site with all the things fascinating, with the less effort, it turned my interest to WordPress so much. My interest for WordPress became so high. Until then, I came into my 3rd year because I did my internship. I did my internship in my 2nd year, after my 2nd year, in the summer for 2nd year. But I did open source software in my 3rd year. So now the lecturer told us you must have a project to work on. Now my mind ran back to the project or to the content management system I was using in my internship. So definitely after a lot of research and after a lot of cultivating in me, now I came across WordPress. Then I realized that WordPress is actually open source, and WordPress has been evolving. I don't know. Those of you who have used WordPress, type W in the messages section. I haven't heard from you. Those of you who have used WordPress, probably you've used maybe Joomla, whatever. Those of you who have used WordPress, type W. Type W. Hey, nobody has used WordPress. Oh, wow. One person, Kakumirizi Daudi, has responded with a W. Wow. Okay. 2 people have typed a W. Oh, okay. A few then, 4. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's all right. Good. So those of you who haven't chosen WordPress, I guarantee you at one moment you'll meet it. Definitely, I'm not saying that all of you go for WordPress. You know, Daudi will paint more a picture of how you really can dig deep and get yourself into the right community. You know, but WordPress has been evolving. You know, and WordPress, for example, now has a simple tab. You know, of get involved. So if I just come and I say get involved, they will take you to their contribution page where how you can get involved with them, you know, at make.wordpress.org. Now, there's a lot of ways you can get involved with WordPress. For example, WordPress is looking for people who can contribute as core contributors, you know. So the core team works at makes WordPress. So whether you're seasoned PHP, HTML, JavaScript, or CSS developer, you know, and again, they have the mobile team, you know, they have the polyglots, documentation team, plugins. Those of you who have used WordPress, you know, the plugins, you know, a very big society of plugins around, you know, meta, you know, testers. So I definitely rolled in as a tester, you know, for WordPress. But all these are available options for you, you know, Openverse, Tide, TV, training, community, themes, support, accessibility, design, all these. And definitely, I can't take you through all these right now. But when you give in time and you really, you know, zoom in, you can get to be part of these. But let me tell you, one of the benefits I've come to realize is, for example, when you join WordPress, Make or the contributions team, one of the cool communities you will join is their Slack community. Slack. Those of you who have been, those of you, I don't know, how many of you have used Slack, or you are in any Slack group or Slack workspace? You know, now people are now actually moving from internet relay chats, IRC, and people are coming now. They're bringing the conversations back to Slack over here. You know, I don't know. Those of you who have used Slack, you could type an S, then maybe I would do my analysis after this. So I'm just painting you roughly, you know, their Slack, you know, workspace is very, very interesting. And you'll come to land on interesting, you know, issues and actions set up on their GitHub accounts, you know, I mean, in their GitHub repository, you know. They have all the way from the Slack help where you can start, you know, if you don't know, if you're new to the clan, you know, people always introduce themselves in here, you know, in the help. So you come, join, then you express yourself in here, set up your profile and the rest. Then every time you check on the core over here, you know, people press in, you know, people place in different issues. So if you want again to have access to some of these on their GitHub, you must be part of them in their community. So I can just, you know, follow up, you know, an issue from the community here. After somebody has thrown some activity onto it, I follow up along with it. I follow it up. Then I can, for example, let me just bring you this over here. Let me share with you this. Move to window, get involved. So, you know, I think you can see this now. So I've come to this issue by, you know, following it up from the community. And if you're not part of the community, sometimes you can't get access to some of these. So process, go sign up, then you can follow up. Okay. You know, I think I cannot really exhaust it all. And I would leave some for my colleague, Kakumirizi, to also add on from here, you know, and I've already passed the limit of the time they gave me. I'm looking at the clock now, almost clocking 30 minutes. Okay, so briefly, you know, to cut the story short, there are a lot of benefits when you join open source communities. And I highly recommend, you know, you guys get involved, you know, get involved, because you really get to learn a lot from people, You get to learn a lot from people who are open-minded, willing to share, willing to share. I didn't get serious with these communities actually until I almost finished my bachelor's, but you guys can actually grow your reputation from this, you can grow your reputation from this. You get exposed to using a number of tools within these, which are highly recommendable. And always, these guys will always be referring you back to GitHub, one of the platforms that software engineers and software interested people always land back to, whether GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket, whichever. So because of time, let me pause at this, then I'll pass the ball back to the organizers of this, and I will wait for the questions at the end of this. Okay, so Joshua, please, I'm passing the ball back to you, and thank you, members, for the time. Sorry, I've gone beyond the time I was slotted to, but yeah, hope somebody has picked something in the brief time that we had. Back to you, Joshua. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mugerwa, for the insight about the open source. I'm scared of the number of pull requests I've seen in that report you've just shared.
Don't worry. Yeah, there's a lot of activity going on. Those of you have used WordPress,
Okay, thank you so much. So I think people have questions because they're running out of time. People have questions. I think what we're going to do, we are going to paste them here on the chat board. Then, Mr. Mugerwa, I think you keep track maybe of the questions that people are going to ask about whatever you've said. Then maybe you could answer at the end. Then, right now, I'm proud to welcome my mentor. Actually, currently I'm under the mentorship of Daudi, the OpenMRS QA test engineer. I'm with him somewhere writing automated tests. So I'm very proud and excited to welcome him to talk to us. Mr. Daudi, you're welcome.
Okay, maybe before David starts, let me take this opportunity to welcome our program manager for the whole program in Africa. Welcome, Anedi Odongo. Thank you. We are really happy to see you here.
Just a minute, please. Don't feel offended to ask questions. I know when we are in meetings, people always think, what should I ask? What should I put in? People always have those debates in their minds. I don't know whether that happens to you. So you don't have to over debate your mind. Ask the question. Ask the question. So I'll keep an eye into the chat here, and I will respond later. Thank you.
I've seen Wycliffe raising up his hand. Wycliffe, could you please kindly type your concern in the chat board? Then the person supposed to get back to you will get back to you shortly. Or maybe we can give you 1 minute to raise up your issue. It's okay.
I think Wycliffe raised the hand by mistake because it's not saying a word. We may proceed. Mr. Daudi, if you are there, please, you're welcome.
My audible now? Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Hello.
Nice to be here. Nice to be here again. And I wasn't there in the beginning. I came 10 minutes late, and I want to thank Mr. Mugerwa, who has taken us through the first session. He has said it all. I will just add a few and probably we...
Mr. Daudi, could you increase on your volume?
Oh, let me just check here. It could be, it should be a snag. First check here. Oh, I should be audible. Are you now able to hear me? Yes. Oh, that's, sorry. It was a snag somewhere, but I've fixed it. I was saying that Mr. Mugerwa said it all, but I will just add a few. And then probably we hear questions and we interact. Otherwise, what was my time that was scheduled?
20 minutes.
Yeah, but I'm saying we are out of time, but let me be, I will not use 20. I will not use 20, but I will use, I think, 10. There's a lot when people hear about open source, and people get different minds when they hear about open source, but Mr. Joseph has explained what open source is all about. One of the things is I want to say that let me give just 4 benefits, just according to what I've observed, 4 benefits of participating in open source, and that will give us an understanding at least of why should somebody get involved. One, I would say you get unbounded learning. You know, when you're working in an active open source project, you are not constrained to the boundaries of the class. And so if you get involved with an open source project, you get learning that is outside class. By the way, the truth is, good, I'm seeing our lecturers here, but what is taught in class is just an introduction, just an intro, basics. And so you will learn a lot more when you participate in any project, whether it's an open source or not, but you get to learn more than what you may, get in class. And so if you can go in class, maybe it is assuming you're learning C programming or Python, and you're just bounded to what Mr. Chinene gives you, you read those notes and you get an A. But I want to tell you there is a lot. What lecturers teach is, I want to think it doesn't exceed 20%. And so when you get involved in an open source project, you get the chance to learn beyond the class, and you learn what is actually happening in the real world with that technology. Then number 2, you get the professional interactions. Just like as you see when you get involved in Facebook, I want to believe that guys, you're on Facebook, but when you get involved on Facebook, you get friends who are within your country or within your locality, and those that are outside. Before I left Facebook in 2017, because that's when I left Facebook, I had 2,000 friends that I was heading to 3,000. I didn't know all, but I would have friends that are coming from different continents. Now, the same way when you participate in open source project, organization, you get professional friends that are within your career. And there is a slogan, I don't know if it's an African slogan, that says that, tell me who your friends are, and I will tell you who you will be. And so if your friends that are around you are not of your profession or are not of what you want to be, then you're with the wrong people. What I'm trying to say here is being able to get professional interactions with guys that have worked in IT for some good years. You gain professional skills from them. For example, communication skills. Actually, that course is even not taught in Bugema. I was even suggesting to Mr. Lowe, instead of doing introduction to writing skills, we would rather go for communication skills. because if you're not able to communicate to the community, people are not going to understand you. And so I'm not saying that writing skill is not good, but I'm trying to say that communication skills, you'll get to learn about leadership skill. You also get to learn about teamwork and how to solve problem in a group. You know, when you're alone, you may not go far, but when you're with people who are smart, actually open source organizations have smart people who are willing to share their ideas, they are willing to share their experience, they are willing to mentor those who have the interest to learn. They are not, actually, they don't mentor those who have ready skills, but they are always passionate to mentoring those that are willing to learn. And so when you join the open source organization, you will get to get this opportunity to learn from the professionals. And number 3, and that will be the second last, you know, you get outside opportunities. Involvement in an open source community opens doors for students to grow to expand their opportunities that are beyond. Because, by the way, open source organization for you as students who are studying, it has opportunities for you. For example, Google Summer of Code is for students who are participating in in open source organizations. And I'm glad that here we have Joshua, who has participated in open source organization. And I'm so glad, because now Bugema as a university is the only university that has had, I think now, Joshua was, I think you were the 4th, you were the 3rd student.
I was the 3rd.
Yeah, you were the 3rd to participate in Google Summer of Code. There is no university in Uganda that has produced a student who has participated in Google Summer of Code, apart from Bugema. And now we have 3 students. What I'm trying to say is, when you participate in these opportunities, you get something. I mean, you get this is what I'm meaning. And so besides contributing to the open source and trying to, you know, give back to those communities, you also earn something, and it adds your portfolio, or it increases the weight, because when we hear a student who has participated in Google Summer of Code, we always know that this student is willing to learn. He doesn't know much, but is willing to learn, so we can recruit him. If I'm a recruiting manager and someone says, hey, I participated with this open source community, I'm so sure that this student has at least interacted with some tools and is willing to learn. And so the point that I'm trying to drive here is these opportunities are there for you. There is Google Summer of Code that happens every year. It happens in summer, and there are some dollars that are given to students. There is also Google Seasons of Doc that deals with guys who are interested in documentation. There is now also, they have introduced another program that was participating with an open source and you be a fellow. That is a huge program. It's more than Google Summer of Code, but those are all opportunities for you. And if you get involved in this open source organization, you become so active in them, show the willingness to learn. I'm telling you, you will grow your technical expertise, and you also grow your technical knowledge of problem solving. Because once you start solving on those little problems that are in the world, you know, what we do is we get a bigger problem and then we divide it into smaller chunks. And these smaller chunks are worked on by different contributors. And at the end, the magic happens. That is collaboration. But just working on that smaller chunk, I'm telling you, it will increase, it will develop your technical thinking into problem solving, and at the end, by the time you resolve it, you have learned a lot, and you move on to the other, then you grow technically. Otherwise, producing a grade of an A in class, it's good, and someone, when he looks at it, he say, hey, this is good, but when the skill is not there. So for me, I see that it's better to grow your skills in this open source community as early as you when you're still students, because when you come out of this when you come out of the college, you may not have time again because you'll have demands. And so lastly is better understanding of computing. Personally, when I was a student, I want to tell you that I was participating in this. I was participating in open source. I've participated in 3. I was once in ODK, then I went to Dial, and then I went to JabRef, and then I finally took the initiative to only concentrate in one, and that one helped me. What I'm trying to say is, when these things were being taught in class, the theoretical thing, I would at least get better understanding of these things because I had seen them the other side in the world of development, and they were making sense. I remember Mr. Joseph was talking about, he took us through Linux. I want to tell you, by the time he was taking us in Linux basics, that was just a revision for me. And I want to believe, Mr. Mugerwa, I should have got more than 90 in the final paper. I know you don't reveal marks, but I want to say that these things were just now making sense to me. Those little commands, we went in Linux Advanced, and I also passed it, but they were making more sense because I was in the real world of the implementation. So while when you're a student and you participate in these open source communities and projects, you get better understanding of even what you're learning. And maybe lastly, fun. You get fun. When you participate in these open source communities, you interact with guys who are willing to share knowledge, as I said, you know, how things are done in the real world. Imagine just sitting on your computer and the tools are being made for you. I see constant grade. What does that one, Sir Joseph, what does that mean? Constant grade. I don't know what you meant by that. I saw constant grade. Is it I got 90 plus. Yeah, I believe. Okay, but that's just a joke. But what I'm saying is, you get, you know, you work in communities. There are guys who make work fun. Now, in the community I work in, there is a guy called Ian Butcher. That guy, you can never, even when he's just making a code review, you can just laugh in his minds, and when you're in his meeting, you can't fail to laugh. You know, there are guys who make fun, they make work interesting, and life goes on, and you at the end you learn from them. Those are expert guys who have been in technology for some good time. And lastly, you need to be self-driven, and you need to have the passion of what you're doing. If you're not self-driven and you have just your open source, and you know, oh, guys are getting employed when they go in open source, you may come in 1 month, 2 months, and things are not moving on. Many people have joined with that, and with a lot of expectations, quick expectations, and they find things are not how they expected. What I'm trying to say is, one, you need to be self-driven, you need to be willing to learn, and you need to be patient. One of the things that actually everywhere, you have to be patient with everything you do, because if you don't have patience, then there is no way you can achieve what you want. And so there are a lot. Those are I've just spoken about a few benefits, but to you as students, you'll grow your career, you grow your skills, the technical skills, and also, you know, we call it networking. I'm not meaning networking of networks, but I'm meaning people networking. You get connected with people of your profession and of your interest, and at the end, opportunities open for you. What I want to assure you is, when you participate in these open source communities and you get, you know, learning, you get improving, you get pushing, and you get the skills with you in just your hands like this. That makes the magic, and the sky is the limit. And so you are a living, not just a living, but something worth because you get the comfort of working at your home if you go remote working. But at least even the pay is worth it. That's what I want to assure you. But it should be self-driven. You should be willing to take on the learning, and you should be willing to learn from others and being open. You know, being open is so important. Be open to learning, and things will just reside in its time, and things will be better. Thanks, Noah and Seriko and the organizers. Unless there's a question, I just want to use those minutes because time was not good. I began 15 minutes to time. Thank you.
Okay, Daud. I think if anyone has more questions, if you have questions, I didn't see anyone sending a question to Mr. Mugerwa, but if anyone has a question to ask Daud, you can still paste it here in the chat board, then you keep track of it and let you answer it. Meanwhile, thank you so much, Daud. This is the guy who likes clean code. Even when your codes are working, it still tells you you have a better fixing this. Thank you so much.
Okay. Maybe as we are waiting for questions, I'm still seeing the hand for Wycliffe Mugambi. I don't know if he's still with us. Maybe he can tell us something. Wycliffe. Sir Wycliffe. I don't know,
yes,
but
sir. Good evening.
Oh, good evening, sir. Thank you. You are welcome. You are welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Now I wanted to inquire if you're getting me. I wanted to inquire, what do you have for the new people who are not into software, software maybe configurations or learning new codes about software? So can you be able to classify them in that they have been grouped and there is somebody who is taking guide of them so that they can be able to enjoy part of the program that you already started? I should think that will be very good of you.
Yeah, actually, we also do get track of those who are still new. I mean, beginner, because here we have some people who are advanced, those who are intermediate, and those who are beginners. So we always try to differentiate them so that we can help each and everyone on for his level. Yeah, and I think if there is maybe any in this meeting, they can still reach out to us so that we can help more.
Yes, and
I think in addition to what the moderator said, I think Mr. Wycliffe was trying to clarify that well, we might be just talking about programming, and what about those people who may be they're interested in networking and other domains. I think that's how I got the question. How are we catering about them? My answer would be open source is not only for software engineers. They are open source organization for networkers. Someone who was interested in networking, join this open source organization. I think I will share the link for guys who have interest in networking. You join these networking organizations that are open source. You will learn beyond what you may be doing locally with the networking. So open source organizations are not only for software developers, but there is also networkers, and actually even those that are, oh, thank you, Mr. Mugerwa. Thank you very much. I shared already the link. Even the guys who have interest in design, we have organizations that are open source and they're only dealing with designs, how you can use different tools to design stuff, how, a lot. So open source organizations are not only limited to the software developers, but also networkers are included, designers are included, and all IT domains. Those open source organizations, if you join them, you'll never remain the same in whatever field of specialization you have gone through.
yes, and Okay, maybe Richard,
Okay, thank you.
Before anything, I would like to add something. If you're there and you're new or you're interested in software or networking or anything dealing with IT, just like Mr. Daudi said, we advise you to continue following up these sessions. It is through these sessions that we learn a lot of things and how to begin, how to go about everything. So I advise everyone who is interested or who has just joined us to continue following these sessions because they are more and very important. Thank you.
So guys, preparing questions. I think those who have questions, they can, let me say, maybe they're typing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Daudi, I should think much of what you've already talked is good. But I'm looking at it from the Bugema platform, since we have already a running platform. Can we be able to have people like who can be able to encourage guys who are coming from networking and the guys who are coming from other departments? You identify individuals who can be able to work specifically to help those ones. If it's networkers, we have somebody who is attached to networkers. And if other platforms are available, so they can be included. I should think that will be very vital, so that at the end of the day, out of the session, rather than to wait until maybe next Sunday when we have the meeting, our usual meeting, I should think we could be able to engage them during the weekday, so that by the time it's Sunday or when we are meeting again, it can be able to bring out some contributions and something that other people have already tried to do. I should think that one it can be able to grow and nurture those ones who are interested in joining. Thank you.
Okay, thank you quickly for the advice.
Thank you everyone for joining and being around till this time. Me personally, I can only leave you with one word. What matters in my life is the kind of people I work with. Guys, if you join open source, you work with people internationally. Just imagine a scenario when you are there, but there was someone who knows you in California, there's someone who knows you in India. It's really exciting on my side, and in my life, the efforts you are going to put in working in local communities is also the same effort you are going to put in working in those big open source communities, and it's free, so there's nothing that you're going to pay. Or anyways, thank you, and thank you for joining till now. If there isn't any question, I'll drop it back to Richard to wrap up, and each and everyone should have a nice week. Richard?
Oh, okay, Josh. I would also want to welcome and also thank the GDS lead from other campuses, from other campuses that I'm seeing here. For sure, thank you for joining. We are very happy to see you here with us. If we don't delay, maybe if there is no any other question or any other concern, I think we can conclude from here. And also, today we had some blessings. The program manager from Google, he joined us, even if he went earlier, but he joined for some minutes, and he had just texted me that congratulations for what we are doing. So thank you for everyone. Thank you for attending.
Yes, I think we should have
Yeah, hello.
Yes,
Hello.
yes, Mr. Mugerwa.
Yes, I think let's there's a take-home assignment I've typed in there. For some of our friends, probably who are new to this, I think one of the platforms that you will never escape in the field of open source, whether you rotate and you rotate and you rotate, every angle you rotate, at one point, believe it or not, at one point, you'll find yourself at github.com. At one point, at one point. And let me bring up this. I therefore want to give this as a take-home assignment. Okay. Let each of us go head over straight to github.com. Okay. Even in other courses, definitely you need this. I've made it a point to include this in all my course units. So I want at least each of us to head over to github.com. The process of signing up is interesting as writing a script. I love the sign up process nowadays that GitHub has introduced. You see this? So welcome to, so let's begin the adventure. Enter your email, then you'll continue. Now, at least let each of us sign up at this. Okay? Now, after you've signed up, share your username with us in the WhatsApp group. If you share your WhatsApp name with us, if you share your username at GitHub with us in the WhatsApp group, I will make sure that I follow you up. I will follow you in GitHub if you share it with us. Then after you've signed up, definitely I will not sign up. So let me just sign in. After you've signed up, I encourage you, try to look out for some of the projects that might be in the line of interest. What do I mean? For example, let me sign in, just sign in briefly. This is a take home. Say, for example, I might be interested in networking, in networking. So I can come and say, I'm just doing an open guess. Let me just say, assuming I'm completely blunt, I don't know which tool I'm supposed to use, whichever. You can just come to the search field and type in, say, for example, let me say network tools. I'm just blunt, as in I'm just doing a guess. Wow, all these are here. All these are here. These are quite very many. I need to remember this. Oops, sorry. I didn't share my screen. Let me share my screen. Okay, sorry. Okay. Right. I think now you can see this. Sorry. I thought you were seeing, but when you head over to this, let me just go back to the home page. So there's a search over here, So each of us just head over to this. Again, let me share it into the group in here. This is the beginning point, because even if you go to, it's very rare to find a repository that won't at one point to reference you back to GitHub or Bitbucket or GitLab. It's very, very hard. So let's have this as an assignment. Go open up your account. So opening up is simple as, going to sign up. Assuming you aren't in, let me sign out. Assuming you aren't in, you can just go to simply sign up over here. Sign up. And I love the sign up process. It's like you're writing a script. You can see that. So you enter your email address, you continue. I love the sign up process. But assuming you already have an account, you can just come and sign in. Then share with us your username at GitHub in our WhatsApp group. For example, let me come and share mine with you. So I'll come to my profile. If you don't know what your username is, you'll always see your username over here. So I will share this username, or I can just come and I pick this URL. I'll copy this, then I'll say, follow me at this. Follow me at this. Because every time you engage with certain activity at GitHub, all your followers will always be linked to, you'll get to know what people what's going on with your friends. So now I want you to do this, sign up. After that, come copy your username, copy your username, or then you paste it into the WhatsApp group like I'm doing right now. Where is DevHub? Where is DevHub? Where are you, DevHub? Here you are. So I will come, I'll paste it here. So you just put that, the way I've put it into the WhatsApp group. You know, I've pasted it there right now. If you just click on it, you should be able to follow me up. So that's our take-home assignment. So I think 16 minutes past the hour of 6. That's it from me.
Let me, my last point would be is have an area of specialization. Have an area of specialization. If you're a networker, specialize in networking, give it time. It will give you the best. If you feel like you're interested in programming, specialize in that. Get also language to specialize in and learn the basics and the concepts. It will reward you. But if you are just generic, having a little in networking, having a little in software, it may not be a good thing for you. So at least be a master of something. And I'm glad to see my president, Gama Richard Williams. He was once a president of IT. I don't know whether he has something to say before we quit the call. But my point was having an area of specialization. Each of us should have an area. If it is programming, also concentrate in which language or the technologies that you specialize, such that you learn the basics, the concepts. Switching to any other field or any other language will be just fun and will be easy.
Thank you, Daudi.
Thank you so much, guys. Sorry for hijacking a bit. Daudi, Joseph, I'm glad that guys are doing some amazing work. Greetings over to all of you and the guys who just joined the Bugema University. I'm glad you are most welcome to the most amazing community. For those of you who might not know me, I am called Gama Richard William, former club president for IT. And I would really say the open source is an amazing world. It's like the oxygen for programmers. The moment you join it, you don't suffocate. Thank you.
Yes,
before we close, our program manager for Africa, Google Developer Student Club, the program manager for Africa, he wanted to just talk to us 1 minute. He has just told me to give him 2 minutes. I think he's trying to organize himself so that he can talk to us. As for now, maybe David, I don't know if you can. Yeah, I can see there is Wycliffe. Wycliffe, maybe he can talk to us. Yeah, he can talk to us. I'm seeing something in the chat. Wycliffe, when we are just waiting for a few minutes so that he can talk to us, the program manager for Africa.
Yeah, I'm happy that Mr. Joseph has put it right, and I should think now new guys can be able to know where to start from. So let's just first create the account for the GitHub, and then after that, follow-up can be done. And I should think that will be a big boost for a restart today.
Wow, guys, with all this wonderful session, I want to believe and tell you that it shall be next year by this time, and Mr. Kakumirizi and Mr. Joseph will be having this session maybe with some other group, and they shall announce me as the 4th participant in Google Summer of Codes. Hallelujah. Okay.
That would be nice. That would be nice. And pursue it. You'll get it. Okay. Thank you, as we have been patiently waiting. Finally, our program manager for Africa is now around. I think can he talk to us for just some few minutes. Thank you. Welcome at Anyedi Udo Bongo. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Richard. Thank you, everyone. My camera is not on now. It's a Sunday. I'm just relaxing at home, but I'm very glad to join this event. always very excited to see young people come together and create a force for good for technology. One thing I want to mention here is the multiplier effect. You never understand the power of what you're doing when you join forces or come together. You know, they say united we stand, and then divided we fall. Or like very many African proverbs would use the broom as a metaphor. If you have a bunch of broomsticks together, you cannot break a broom, but if you take each of them one apart, you can break the broomsticks. So when we come together, no matter how small the number is, 2 people, 3 people, 10 people, it becomes a multiplier force for good. So in this particular context, you're coming to talk about open source communities, you're coming to talk about technology. What you may not realize is that each one of you is a leader and a force in your own right. I will use myself as an example. Right now, I lead the Developer Student Clubs program and the Google Developer Groups program. And even recently, a portion of the Women Tech Makers program is coming under me in Sub-Saharan Africa. By that single responsibility for Google, I'm supporting 200 Developer Student Clubs, and I'm supporting 156 Google Developer Groups. Now, with those groups, I'm having an audience of about 200 GDSC leads, just like you have a lead in this group. And for the Google Developer Groups, let's just say 2 per group. I'm talking to another 300 people. So 2 times 156, that's about 312. If you add those 2 numbers together, what you're saying is I am talking to 512 community leaders. 512 community leaders. Each of these people is doing something in their own campus, their own city, their own town. So when you look at me, in my team on the developer relations ecosystem team at Google, you will hear us talk about one to few to many relationship. Right? Maybe many of you have heard many to many, many to few, or one to many when you talk about database and some other technology systems. Ours is like a direct and an indirect system joined together. One to few to many. So I'm one person. I'm talking to a few leads. Let's say about 500 of them. I just showed that calculation to you. And through those 500 leads, I'm talking to many people. It may interest you to know that the many people that I am able to reach through the 500 few people is approximately 100,000 developers and students. 100,000. So I, as one person, reaching 512 leads, able to access 100,000 people. So if I send out a tweet or a message, or if I publish a job opportunity, it gets to 100,000 people if I just broadcast it to about 512 people. Now, imagine the fact that I am one person. I have colleagues in Nairobi, in London, in San Francisco, in Singapore, in Beijing, in Zurich, in New York, in Ontario, in Toronto, in Sydney, Australia. So each of us, by the time we join forces together, we are also a team of few people that has a director. And then we have a company at the top. So our CEO, Sundar Pichai, our vice president, Jason Titus, our director, David McLaughlin. If any of these individuals up the chain send a message and try to create an opportunity or drive awareness for something, it only needs to get to maybe 2 people under them. Those 2 people will get it to another 20 people under them. Those 20 people may get it to maybe about 50 of us, 50 people like me, regional leads, program managers. And then each of the 50 of us, if we push that message further down, can get it to 100,000 people. If you do 50 times 100,000, that is 5 million. What am I trying to say? We may be 12 or 13 people on this call. You may be coming together to form a community, to build on existing communities, to join open source communities, to make contributions, and it's just 10 of you. Never doubt the power and the possibility of 10 people working together to push a message further. You can change Uganda. you can change Africa. And one thing I always tell people, it's a Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, right? Right now, there's even football going on in Nigeria. We're very crazy about the football Premier League, the FA Premier League, English Premiership. While you are here getting this information, somebody else who is almost identical to you in position, in knowledge, in career, in studentship, might right now be watching football. And there's really nothing absolutely wrong with watching that football or following what is happening, whether Ronaldo or Messi or whoever is scoring and earning how many £1,000,000 a day. But you see what has happened? You have taken an opportunity cost. You have given up something to be here. So whether there's 12 of you, there's 15 of you here, that is fantastic. There's another 500 people like you who are not here. But you know what has happened? They have missed the information I have shared with you. They have missed the perspective I have shared with you. They have missed the inspiration or the idea or the fact that I have shared with you. So don't bother whether this has only 10 people, 2 people, or 2,000 people. You come together to learn about technology, about open source, about communities, about even how do you even come to have a relationship or an interaction with an entity like Google. That is what you have picked up today. And sometime in the future, maybe because you decide to follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn, or you decide to connect with yourselves, there will be a flow of information and opportunity and resources that you have access to that many people do not have access to. So I want to congratulate you for making a choice to be here, to stay on, to wait, and to learn. You cannot be the same person you were just after this call. That is the power of information and the information age we are in. You go somewhere, you get a piece of information, and you can never be who you were before. It's like somebody putting an alert in your bank account or depositing money into your account. If you're broke and you go somewhere and say, everybody here, by virtue of being here, you're going to get 10,000 US dollars or 1 million Ugandan shillings or whatever that amount is. Immediately that money is deposited in your bank account and credited to you. Your life changes. You can no longer be broke the way you were broke before. You can only be broke if you waste that money and become broke all over again. But for a period of time, and possibly forever, you can't be in the situation you were before. That is the power of information. The world is based on knowledge. Knowledge is the currency now. Knowledge is the money. So the thing we call money, the thing we call value, the thing we really want is information and knowledge. And by being here today, not just listening to me, I'm sure you had a fantastic speaker before I started speaking. You got a deposit in your knowledge bank that will change your life. So what do I advise you to do? Always create the opportunity. Always create the environment. Always create the ability to be where knowledge is being deposited or credited to your knowledge bank account. You've done it today. Well done, but that's not enough. You're going to do it over and over and over again, literally for the rest of your life. But you've done the right thing today. Reflect upon that. Think of what you've learned today. Write it down, tweet it, share it, post it on Facebook. And remember that the more you do it, the better for you, your career, and anybody, friends or family, who depend on you or rely on you. So thank you for the 10 minutes we've had to interact. It is my pleasure, and hopefully once the world completely opens up again, we'll be traveling around to meet in person. But for now, bye for now, and thank you, Richard. Thank you, everyone, for having me.
Okay, thank you for the good inspiration you've given to us. Today we are for sure blessed. I think now our advisor, also we are with him, he can conclude for us. Mugerwa, our advisor.
All right, so I can't stress enough of what has been passed on, and I want to once again welcome you and thank you for the time you've spent. You know, like Mr. Ubong has said, this is not a loss, and one time it will repay. So thank you very much, all of you, for the time. I think I won't take more minutes because we've already consumed and gone beyond the time that we had scheduled. So to the organizers that are still powering this, David and the team, Richard and the team, thank you very much, and looking forward to yet another interesting meeting next time. So thank you very much, and be blessed from me.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So should I give a word of prayer?
Yeah, sure, you can.
All right, so let's humble ourselves and give a word of prayer. So let's pray. Our most loving Father that in heaven, we thank you very much for the gift of life that you've given us. We thank you very much for the time that you've given us to share the little and the much that we have. As human beings, sometimes we get impatient when we wait for the results and they don't come. But Father, we pray that as we go on this journey, let's have patience that will enable us to get the results. But as you wait, enable us to put into action whichever that we are learning. As we close this meeting, we pray that you be with us till we meet again next time. Bless us throughout the week. Those who have different classes, different activities, bless us through all those activities. Be with us till we meet again, for this is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much for everyone who attended. Be blessed.
Okay, thank you for everyone. Thank you. We are very happy. We are, for sure, today we are blessed. We are blessed. Nice to see you, Gamma Richard. Nice to see you. Thank you for everyone. Let's meet on Sunday. We'll be also having another session. We are going to plan of what we are going to talk about. Thank you for everyone. Wish you a blessed week.